Hello, people. I'm Jade, and this story is about my horrible in-laws. Now, my story is a little different than everyone. I'm sure you have seen mother-in-laws obsessing over their sons. Well, wait, what? Why don't they like you? This is ridiculous. My mom always wanted daughters. She hated me when I was born. I guess that's why she always preferred my sister Penny over me. I was also made to compromise and got punished for the mistakes she made. My mother-in-law, Shelley, absolutely hated my husband, Saint. I had no idea that a mother could hate her child so much. Before we got engaged, my then boyfriend, Saint, told me a lot of things. He said, "I know you want to meet my family, Jade, but my mom and sister don't really like me. I don't want you to be mistreated just because you are my girlfriend." That is horrible. Why the hell would a mother play favorites like that? You have to be kidding me. Is this why you don't have a good connection with them? Yes, Jade. My dad tries to be there for me, but mom and sis always find a way to mess up my life. Dad is the best, but the rest are not so much. I try my best to keep some contact, but I don't know how long I'll manage. Saint wasn't kidding when he said that his mother hated him. This woman was a freaking monster. His sister Penny was just as bad. The first meeting with them made it very clear to me. They criticized Saint and called him names the entire time. They didn't even say much to me and ignored me the entire time. His father, Neil, was the only sane person who actually was welcoming towards us. Before we left, he took us aside and said, "I'm so sorry about my wife and daughter's behavior, Jade. They have always hated Saint for no reason. My son is a great man and doesn't deserve those insults. Don't worry, Neil. I know just how amazing Saint is, Neil. I'm sorry he doesn't have a better mom and sister." What can I do, Jade? I have to accept how they are and try to navigate a relationship like this. I know they won't change, but I can't abandon them. Neither can Dad. I could see where they were coming from. Shelley and Penny were completely dependent on Neil for everything. Penny didn't work and had a son out of wedlock. The father is involved, but she has full custody. The father of her son also doesn't want anything to do with Penny due to her insanity. Penny lived off the child support payments that he gave and wasted her father's money on luxuries. It was ironic that Penny made fun of me and Saint for living like middle-class people. Perhaps it was because Shelley had a similar way of life? Anyway, it was quite clear to me that Shelley and Penny would not be close to us. I refused to be in contact with them much. However, Saint still tried to have a relationship. He was a very affectionate man and always wanted to see good in people, but nothing had prepared him or me for what was to come. It started when I and Saint announced our engagement and tentative wedding date. We went over to the in-laws and told them everything. Neil was super happy for us and literally had tears in his eyes, but Penny and Shelley were not at all happy to hear our announcement. In fact, they looked pissed at us. They said, "How could you even think about having a wedding when I'm still single? I'm older than you and should be the first one to marry." That is ridiculous, Penny. Getting married is not a competition. You can get married when you finally meet someone. It's not a good reason for me to wait for you. You are the one being ridiculous. My daughter should be the first one to marry. I don't know who gave you the permission to get married before her. We are not children, Shelley. We don't need anyone's permission to get married. Who marries first is not a big deal. When Penny finds her soulmate, she will get her chance too. Jade is right, Shelley. I have no idea why you and Penny are making such a big deal about this. They're not required to sacrifice their wedding because Penny refuses to date realistically. How can you say such things about your own daughter, Neil? You should support our daughter, Penny, when she's so upset. You're just taking Saint's side and internally mocking Penny. You are a horrible father. Suddenly, Shelley and Neil started to argue about the issue. Penny was simply crying and playing the woe is me card from time to time. Since the attention shifted from me and Saint, we decided to leave them be and go home. Neil would handle the situation. We were positive about it, and if he didn't, we would always try to talk some sense into Shelley and Penny. We didn't hear from Shelley and Penny for a week, so me and my fiance thought that they were finally over the stupid wedding competition. Oh boy, we were wrong. One day when I was at home after work, Shelley and Penny decided to visit me. They knew that Saint was out of town on business and wanted to catch me alone. I let them in, thinking that we could have a sane discussion about the wedding. I said, "Hey guys, what's up? We haven't heard from you for over a week now. You missed Saint. He's on a business trip to Seattle." "We are not here to meet with Saint. We are here to talk to you. I don't care where my useless son is right now." "Well, what are you here to talk about? I'm not sure I can be of any help to you two." "We are obviously here to talk about your wedding, you dumb woman. Why else would we visit you in your horrible home?" "We have tried to talk to Neil and Saint about canceling your wedding. It looks like they have no interest in listening to us, so we've come to talk some sense into you. You need to think of your sister-in-law and cancel your wedding." I couldn't believe their freaking audacity. I was naive enough to think that they were here to make peace, but no. Penny and Shelley were here to corner me and get me to cancel the wedding. I don't know in what universe they think I would have agreed to that. These women just kept getting crazier and crazier. But I wasn't the one to be pushed back. I said, and that would be a hard no from me. Whether this wedding will happen or not is completely up to me and Saint. You have presented your points to us and we don't agree to it. So no, Shelley, we won't cancel our wedding. How can you be so selfish? Wait, I know. You and Saint know that I will have a big wedding. You want to get married before me so that you can steal the limelight and have no one to compare your wedding to mine. You are just a jealous witch like my brother. My God, Penny, you are one crazy woman. If one wedding bothers you so much, maybe you should consider getting some help. This is not normal. How dare you say something is wrong with my daughter? Penny isn't wrong to feel how she feels. She's right about your intentions. You are a selfish woman. You should know how much weddings mean to a bride. My stupid son can wait for a little longer to get married. Your daughter is almost 30, Shelley. If she still hasn't found someone, we are not sticking around to find out how long it'll take. With her ridiculous standards, she would be lucky if anyone married her. Oh, please, you are just jealous of me, Jade. I'm a beautiful woman and anyone would want to be with me. It's not my fault that I know my worth and will only marry a rich guy. I'm not cheap like you and Saint. Well, I don't care, Penny. What I do care about is my own wedding. The wedding won't be cancelled for some brat who doesn't even love her own brother. We will ask you one more time, Jade. Take a month to think about it. If you go through with the wedding, there will be consequences. Let me just make that clear. Shelley said that and left with Penny. Their threat was hanging in the air even after they left. I was freaking mad about how they talked about Saint and his feelings didn't matter at all. While Saint has gotten used to this behavior from his mom, I knew the wedding issue was plaguing his mind. So I decided not to tell him about the threats. I didn't want to depress him any further. It was bad enough with Saint slowly realizing that there is no way we can have a good relationship with Shelley and Penny. A month passed, and I didn't even bother reaching out to Shelley. She did call and try to harass me. I saw the horrible texts she sent and kept records of all the threats she made, but I didn't show them to anyone. I was already busy planning the wedding and had a lot on my mind. I didn't need more drama. Instead, I simply informed Neil about the situation and let him deal with it. He was able to keep a tight leash on his wife and daughter so that they don't do anything stupid. Neil's efforts were only fruitful till the day of my wedding. All the preparations were done with great care, and I was proud of how everything turned out. Saint was very busy with work, so he couldn't help as much. Plus, the issue with his family was also on his mind a lot, so I didn't bother him with wedding troubles. I was trying my best to be supportive of Saint while he figured out what to do about Shelley and Penny. I said, "Look, Saint, I know you wanted a decent relationship with your mom and sister, but I don't think they are even a little bit interested in that. I mean, you have seen how they reacted to your wedding." "I know, Jade. Trust me. I'm starting to doubt my decision as well. I tried very hard to establish a relationship with them. I don't think I can do that anymore. I can't believe how they dismissed my wedding like nothing." "Shelley and Penny are not worth our precious time, Saint. I think you should consider cutting them off after the wedding. Hell, I would be happier if they were uninvited from the wedding altogether." "I can't uninvite them, Jade. They're still my family. Maybe they don't care about me, but I do care about them. Even if it's only a little bit. To be honest, I'm worried they'll try and do something stupid, but I'm sure Dad will handle it. After the wedding is done, we don't have to be in contact with Mom and Penny anymore." Even after everything, Saint was still trying very hard to not have any hard feelings towards them. I could understand his side, actually. For years, he had tried to gain their affection. It's difficult for him to pull away suddenly. I did make a mental note after convincing him to get therapy after the wedding. I also wished that by some grace of God, Shelley and Penny end up not coming to the wedding. I knew it was a fruitless prayer. I couldn't stop them from coming. But all I could do was keep my eyes peeled and stop them from sabotaging the wedding. At our rehearsal dinner, everyone was in a great mood. It was the first wedding of Saint's family in years, so all of his extended family showed up. They were very excited about us getting married, unlike Shelley and Penny. My dear mother-in-law did try to tell everyone about how unfair it is that Saint is getting married first, and he didn't even consider Penny's feelings on the matter. Well, no one agreed with her, of course. In fact, Shelley's mom and Neil scolded her for being so negative about her own son's wedding. Shelley and Penny sulked for the rest of the evening while everyone ignored them. On the day of the wedding, I was very anxious for some reason. Shelley's threats were playing in my mind on a loop. My maid of honor and bridesmaids tried their best to calm me down, but I was still very anxious and starting to look like a mad woman. So they suggested that we take a tour of the venue to make sure everything was all right. It was before I got my makeup done and while Saint still hadn't arrived at the venue, when I was taking a look at everything, I and my bridesmaid found Shelley and Penny in the kitchen. They were standing near our wedding cake and laughing. In their hand was a spray bottle of peanut oil. I was absolutely horrified to see what they were doing. They said, "There you go. Mom, I've sprayed a thin coating of peanut oil on the cake. It doesn't even look visible. One bite of this and Saint will go straight to emergency. Even if he has an EpiPen nearby, his wedding will be ruined." I can't believe we had to go this far for this stupid wedding. Saint is such a bad son for making me do this. If he and his stupid fiance had only listened to us and canceled the wedding, we wouldn't have done this. Whatever happens today will be a result of his own doing. Mom, you are worrying too much about Saint. Do you know how upset I am already? People just won't stop talking about him and Jade. I don't want to listen to you babble about them as well. If the peanuts kill him or something, he'll deserve to die for being such a weakling. Sorry for being insensitive, Penny. I'm being too charitable with Saint. I should be more mad at him. And you're right, Saint and Jade brought this upon themselves. Maybe this will teach them to respect us more. Shelley and Penny started to laugh about what they did and even made fun of us. I was absolutely shocked to hear how nonchalantly they tried to poison my wedding cake. They knew that Saint was deathly allergic to peanuts. We had to be extremely cautious about not having any nuts around him. His mom and sister tried to use his allergies to spoil his wedding. Their jealousy knew no bounds. They didn't even care if Saint died from it. Me and my bridesmaids were appalled by what we saw. We didn't confront them right then. We were more busy trying to reach Saint and the groomsmen. I didn't want Saint anywhere near the kitchen because it had been contaminated. I also had to call the venue staff and catering to come clean the room before someone accidentally cross-contaminated all the rooms. By then, the guests had already arrived and even Saint was waiting outside in the parking lot. I was so anxious about stopping Saint that I completely forgot about the wedding cake. While I was telling Saint what happened, I heard a loud shriek from the kitchen. Everyone ran to see what was going on. Turns out Penny's son ate a huge chunk of the cake. The child is a very big spoiled brat, so I wasn't surprised to see him rudely eating my own wedding cake before anyone else. But the problem is that the child is allergic to nuts as well. Penny and Shelley screamed in horror. They said, "Quick, someone help my son. His throat is swelling. He's having an allergic reaction. Someone needs to call 911 right now. Please do it fast." "Oh my God, my grandson. Someone help him. Neil, do something." "Penny, you need to get away from your son. You still have peanut oil clothes. It might make things worse. Here, I have an EpiPen. Use this till the ambulance arrives." When the ambulance arrived, Penny left with her son and was accompanied by a relative. However, I didn't let Shelley leave with her. I let Penny go at the moment because her child was in danger. However, I wasn't going to let Shelley go that easily. I said, "Where do you think you're going, Shelley? Wouldn't you like to tell everyone how this accident happened today?" "What is going on? How did my grandson have an allergic reaction to the cake? It was made to be free from nuts. Saint is allergic to nuts, so they were strict about these things." "I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea why their wedding cake had nuts in it. Maybe Jade and Saint are trying to intentionally poison Penny's child." "We tried to poison your grandson, or did you try to poison Saint?" "You are one awful woman, Shelley. Even after everything, you won't accept your faults. Everyone, my dear mother-in-law and sister-in-law, actually tried to poison our wedding cake with peanut oil. I saw it with my own eyes, and so did my bridesmaids." "Mom, is that true? Do you really hate me that much? Does my life mean so little to you?" "Tell us the truth, Shelley. I'm one step away from going nuclear on you." "Oh, these are lies. I didn't do anything like that. Why would I do that to my own son?" "Because you wanted to destroy our wedding. You wanted Penny to marry first and even pressured us continuously to cancel the wedding. Don't try to lie about the poisoning. The security cameras in the kitchen have recorded everything. I can prove your guilt, Shelley." At this point, Shelley knew that she had no way to cover her crime. Yes, I'm calling it a crime because it is, and I already called the police to come and arrest her. Meanwhile, everyone around us went super mad at Shelley. There was a lot of shouting and yelling. In the end, everyone was berating Shelley horribly. Saint said, "For years I've tried to make myself worthy of your love. I've slaved to make you and Penny happy. But today, I can see that I was making a mistake. You two don't even care if I live or die. I have had enough. Me and Jade won't be in contact with you anymore." "How dare you blame us for everything? You and Jade should have listened to us when we told you to cancel the wedding. It's your fault that my grandchild is in the hospital." "Enough, Shelley. You have the audacity to turn this on Saint and Jade? You are the one who should bear the responsibility along with Penny. I can't believe I spent so many years with such a vile woman. Today you showed exactly who you are. You better go home and pack your bags. After today, I won't be married to you anymore." "There is no need for her to leave, Neil. I've already called the police, and from the sirens, I can tell that they have arrived. You won't get away with this, Shelley. I and Saint will press charges against you for poisoning our cake." Shelley started to freak out and beg us to forgive her. No one paid heed to her tears and pleading. The police came, took our statements, and arrested Shelley. The venue authorities were called, and they supplied the cops with video evidence. Shelley was taken away crying for mercy. Me and Saint still got married that day. Everyone encouraged us to go through with the wedding, and even Neil told us to continue. We all had a good time once we heard that Penny's son is stable now. The police were also planning to arrest Penny once the child was better. It looks like she would be losing custody of the kids and the child support payments as well. Meanwhile, Neil has talked to a lawyer about divorce and is preparing all the necessary papers. Shelley is rotting in jail and waiting for Penny to join her or someone to come bail her out. Hi, my name's Hazel. I'm 28 years old. Before I tell you guys about this story, I want to give you a little backstory to me, my husband, Paul, and my mother-in-law, Diane. I was born into a family where each individual's strengths were valued. So when I developed a huge interest in the art of baking, I was fully supported by my family. They encouraged me to keep practicing and would always buy me the things I needed to help me better my skills. Needless to say, I have become pretty good at baking. I never pursued it full time, but I did always make cakes and treats for family, birthdays, and family occasions. When I moved away for college to another state, I ended up baking a lot less. I mean, it's pretty hard to bake anything when all your dorm had was a microwave. Anyway, it was in college that I ended up meeting the love of my life. Paul and I met at a college festival when we were juniors. We ended up spending the rest of our time at the festival that day. Little did we know that we'd want to spend the rest of our lives together too. We got into a relationship as soon as we became seniors. We dated for a couple of years. In those years, we both managed to find jobs in our areas of expertise that paid us pretty well. When we were financially stable enough and had enough money saved, we got married. It was one of the happiest days of my life. I was sentenced to spend the rest of my life with my best friend, and nothing made me happier than that. Now, of course, with marriage came gifts. My parents were kind enough to gift us one of their many properties. It was a cute little flat that would have been perfect for Paul and me for the next couple of years. And we did stay there without any issues for the next 3 years. Having our own little place that was fully furnished helped me get back into baking. It started out small, with me just making some cupcakes and cake pops. But as family events kept coming, I kept making more desserts and treats. Pretty soon, I started receiving orders from family and some of their friends every month. It got to a point where I was struggling to juggle work and my little side business. I remember when I was really stressed, I talked to Paul about it. Lately, I've been struggling to balance my job and my little baking business. It's getting overwhelming, and I don't know how to handle it all. Oh, sweetheart, I'm here for you. Tell me everything. We'll figure this out together. I just feel like I'm running out of time and energy. My baking orders are increasing and I want to give it my all, but work keeps demanding so much from me too. I get it. I believe in your talent and I know how passionate you are about baking. So what if we invest more in the business? That way you can focus on it full time. I'll support you and we'll manage our finances accordingly. Really? You do that for me? But what about your savings and financial security? Don't worry about that. Your happiness and success mean everything to me. I want to see you thrive, and I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. We're a team, and together we'll make it work. It felt great to have my husband support me so much. I knew that jumping into baking and making goods from my nice, stable job was a huge risk. But I wasn't alone in taking that risk. Even though I had a lot of doubts swirling in my mind, I knew that I wasn't doing this alone. Having Paul by my side made everything seem less scary. So Paul invested the most into my business, and obviously he held the most of the shares. The other investors were my brother and my father. They held minor shares. It felt good to have people believe in me when I was practically shaking at the thought of doing something so risky. Over the next 2 years, my business collected a lot of attention. I was smart enough to start marketing my company on the internet. I mainly used Instagram and TikTok. Thanks to my videos, I managed to gain a good amount of customers. My business started growing, and before I knew it, I had quite a bit of customers daily. Thanks to all my profits, I was able to rent out a small outlet to set up my shop and start selling my goods. As soon as the paperwork was done and the shop was set up, we inaugurated the business. In 2 weeks, we were already popular. I was making a good amount of money, but I did not let any of the progress go to my head. I made sure to always stick true to my roots and focused on producing good quality food. Paul still stood by me and would sometimes even help me around the store. I was finally able to live out my childhood dreams, and I had the perfect man by my side. I don't like to brag because I believe that it invites bad luck. But bad luck came knocking at my door anyway in the form of my mother-in-law, Diane. Diane and I used to have a pretty cordial relationship. I mean, we were never very close and always just remained civil with each other at family events. I never interpreted that to be hatred or dislike. I just thought that she took a little time to warm up to new people, so I let it be. However, as soon as Diane heard that I was going to start my own business, she began to behave more hostile towards me. She would deliberately try to sabotage me at family events. She would belittle me and make fun of me whenever she met me. Paul would always stand up for me. One time I decided to make a dessert for Diane's birthday at her house so it would be nice and fresh. However, for the split second that I looked away from the dessert, Diane entered the kitchen and added a handful of salt to the dessert. I hadn't known about it until I saw people physically gagging and throwing up the dessert. I felt horrified as I wondered what had possibly gone wrong, so I tried it too. I tasted the salt immediately and threw it out. I wanted to cry. Diane made sure to make a big scene about it too. She kept saying that this is why I shouldn't even be popular. I apologized to her profusely, but she refused to listen and kept telling everyone that I had purposely tried to sabotage her birthday. I almost left in tears. But then one of Paul's nephews spoke up. He was just a little boy of 6 years. He innocently told Diane that she was lying because he saw her put a lot of salt in the dish when I wasn't looking. Everyone looked at Diane in confusion, and Diane tried to nervously laugh it off and say that he was just a kid who was saying anything. But then the little boy started screaming that he wasn't lying and that he had seen Diane pour the salt in and stir the dessert up. I was shocked at Diane's actions. I realized then the extent that she would go to just embarrass me and put me down. Now, instead of humiliation, I felt anger. But before I could say anything, Paul approached his mother. His face was red with anger. "What's your problem with Hazel? Why do you keep trying to sabotage her and put her down?" "Oh, you're making a big deal out of nothing. She's just a simple girl with a little baking hobby. She shouldn't be as popular as she is." "She's not just a simple girl with a hobby. Hazel is talented and hardworking. She's built her business from the ground up, and it's successful because she's amazing at what she does. I'm proud of her, and you should be too." "Proud of what? That she can put together flour, eggs, and sugar? Please." "Look, if you ever disrespect my wife like that ever again, I will never speak to you." "I'll make you see why she's the wrong choice for you. Just wait and see." I was beyond upset and angry. Paul grabbed my hand and we left the party hand in hand. The ride back home was silent. I struggled to keep my tears in, but a couple slipped down my cheeks every couple of minutes. When we got back home, I cried into Paul's arms. I asked him what I had done to upset Diane so much. Paul assured me that I hadn't done anything wrong. He told me that his mother was just jealous of me. I told him that if she wanted, I could give her a role in my company, if that's what she wanted. Paul strictly told me not to do that because that would mean that I would leave something important in the hands of someone who wanted my business to fall. I shed because I knew that Paul had exhausted all his savings into this business. But I just wanted to do something to get Diane to like me or even just treat me with a little respect. Paul told me to never stoop so low as to get someone like his mother to respect me. He told me that I shouldn't have to do so much for her to treat me like a human being. He told me that if she pulled one more stunt, he would cut her off. I realized that what Paul was saying was true. I shouldn't have to work so hard for the respect that everyone deserves, regardless of status or gender. I knew that I wasn't going to let Diane or her actions affect me anymore. I mean, I had thousands of people praising my work, for God's sake. Why should I let her opinions of me change how I see myself and my work? I thanked Paul for his support and gave him the biggest hug. Later on that night, we heard from Paul's sister, the one whose nephew spoke up for me. She told him that their mother had called her and yelled at her for not keeping her son in check. She demanded an apology from his sister. Paul was enraged and couldn't believe his mother's audacity. His sister told him that she hadn't apologized, nor did she berate her son for speaking the truth. Paul told her that she did the right thing. After he cut the call, we decided that we would buy his nephew a little present for his good deed. The next day, I took a day off from work. I decided to buy Drew a present and spent the day with him. I picked up a Lego set that I knew he'd been wanting for a while and also some snacks. We spent the day playing around and eating a boatload of snacks. He loved the present, and we also spent some time assembling the Lego. What I'm trying to say is that I spent the entire day away from my phone because I was too wrapped up in spending time with Drew. At around 7 p.m., just as I was leaving Drew's sister's place, Paul called me. "Babe, have you checked your social media? There's something going on." "No, I haven't. What's happening?" "A bunch of people on Instagram and TikTok are complaining about your business. They're saying terrible things about the service and the prices, and even accusing you of reselling grocery store confectionery." "What? I can't believe this. Why would anyone spread such lies?" "I don't know, but we can't let the haters win. It's time to address this and set the record straight." "You're right. I'm just scared that all the hard work we put into the business will be ruined by these rumors." "We won't let that happen. We'll respond to each of these claims. Show them the truth and defend your reputation. You have a loyal customer base who knows your dedication and talent. We'll get through this together." "Thank you, Paul. Your support means the world to me. I won't let these rumors bring us down. Let's fight back and show them the real story behind the business." "That's the spirit. I believe in you, and together we'll overcome the challenge." I drove home with a lot of plans brewing in my mind. I needed to figure out how to address the situation in the best way and reassure my customers that all the allegations and rumors were fake. When I got back home, I immediately set up my camera and started filming a video to post. I assured my customers of the quality of my food. However, for some reason, it did not help. In fact, the opposite started happening. More and more people started coming out and talking about their bad experiences with my business. I started losing a lot of customers. Along with the customers, I also started losing sleep. No matter what I did, it never seemed to help turn things around. This went on for a couple of months, and before long, I realized that I was at a serious loss and that I was drowning in debt. I was barely breaking even, when before I would make profits that were 40 times my investment. I ended up sitting Paul down and breaking the news to him. "Babe, about the business, it's not going well, and I don't know what to do. We're at a huge loss, and I've tried everything, but nothing's working. The negative comments and insults keep pouring in." "Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. This must be really tough for you. What are you thinking of doing?" "I think we have to shut down the business, Paul. It's too risky to keep going like this, and I don't want to drag us both down with it." "I'm so sorry, darling. I wish I could have done more to help." "You don't understand. I don't want you to be broke because of my dreams." "It's not just your dreams, baby. It's our dreams. We're a team, and I'll always stand by you no matter what. Money comes and goes, but our love and support for each other will remain. We'll find a way to get through this together." I couldn't believe how selfless Paul was. I always knew that I was lucky to have him, but this lucky? I never thought I would find someone as amazing as Paul, and I told him as much. I felt so grateful to have him in my life. I knew that no matter what happened to the both of us, we'd always have each other's backs. Over the next few weeks, we began the painful process of shutting down the business, selling off the outlet, and paying off our employees and investors. It hurt to do all of that because it was essentially me setting fire to everything I had worked so hard to build. Paul was super helpful during the entire thing. He made sure that I was okay and kept me from spiraling into depression. By the time we were done wrapping up the official paperwork, it was time to celebrate Paul's birthday. However, considering how we just lost a lot of money, Paul decided that he didn't want a big celebration or a celebration at all. I tried to convince him, but he just wouldn't budge. I couldn't help but let it go. I wanted him to have a good time. I wanted to properly celebrate him, especially because he had just gone through a very hard time too. But it would be insensitive of me to go against his wish for his big day, you know? Anyways, while I was accepting, his mother, Diane, didn't. She came over to our place the night before Paul's birthday and asked him why he wasn't celebrating it like he always did. Paul, why aren't you celebrating your birthday like you always do? My business didn't go well, so I don't feel like celebrating. Oh, come on, it's not a big deal. You shouldn't be upset about it. What do you mean? Why would you say that? Well, I may have had something to do with your business's failure. I hired people to spread fake comments and rumors about Hazel's business. Are you serious? Why would you do that? I just couldn't stand the fact that your wife was more successful than you. It's embarrassing for me to admit to my friends that she's doing better than my own son. Why would you think that way? It's not a competition between us. We're a team, and I never wanted to surpass Paul in any way. Well, in my opinion, the man should always be the one earning the most. That's an outdated and unfair view. Paul has been my biggest supporter and investor in the business. We work together, and I value him immensely. I didn't care about all that. I never bothered to ask how you started the business because I don't care enough for you. It's hurtful to hear that, but I believe you should respect me as your son's wife. Your actions have hurt Paul too. Oh, what? Did he cry because his wife was crying? That's pathetic. That's why I'm here to straighten you guys out. If you had a big enough brain to be a little open-minded, you'd realize that there was something deeper other than Paul caring for me. What do you mean? Your son invested all his savings so I could live my dreams. Your selfish and cruel actions have left Paul broke, which is why he'd rather not celebrate. I'm sorry, Paul. We don't need your apologies. Leave our home. Get out! You ruined my birthday with your selfish and toxic behavior. I can't believe you thought that it was okay to do that and brag about it to me. You're a horrible, horrible person, and I hope the worst for you. Paul, please. No, enough is enough. Goodbye, Diane. I felt no remorse for the way we made Diane feel. She ruined everything because of her ancient ideologies and toxic thought processes. I wanted her to feel the pain of losing something she loved. Paul felt the same way. He couldn't believe that his mother would go to such lengths to hurt his wife. He wanted nothing more to do with her. I can't believe what my mother did to you. I want her out of our lives for good. Thanks for standing up for me. I never expected her to go that far. It's the right thing to do. We'll rebuild and make sure nothing like this happens again. I promise to protect you and our dreams. You're incredible. I'm so grateful for your unwavering support. We'll get back on our feet stronger than ever. We'll hire a PR team and a lawyer to safeguard our business and reputation. With you by my side, I know we can face anything. I love you, baby. I love you too, darling. As time passed, we slowly got back on our feet. It was a very slow and difficult time. We had gotten too used to enjoying a lot of comfortable things. We had to give them all up so we could finally start saving. It was very hard to adjust initially, but we found a way to adjust for now. As for Diane, I have no idea what she's doing. Paul and I made sure to inform everyone about what she had done. Needless to say, but the entire family on both mine and Paul's side were more than angry at her. She decided to lay low and avoid contact with any of us. I know it was difficult for Paul to cut off his own mother, but he stood firm in his decision. He also took amazing care of me and still hyped me whenever I felt too down about everything that happened. As for what's presently going on, I have started selling my desserts and treats among my family once again. I hope that this time it goes better. But that's a wish for the future. Right now, both Paul and I are focusing on healing and moving forward. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you always remember that you deserve to be treated with respect, and no matter what anyone says, you'll always deserve happiness and success. Fight hard for what you love and always stick by those who love you. Picture this. I'm Millie, 36, female, a wife navigating a lonely life while my husband, Francis, serves in the military. Yep, he's been deployed for some time, which, trust me, comes with its own set of challenges. Military life isn't all glamorous reunions and tearful farewells. It's also about finding strength in the in-between moments. Now, I know Francis is a brave soul. He's got this quiet determination that I admire. And during one of his calls home, he asked for something unusual. He suggested that my relationship with his mom, Lily, needed a little TLC. What are you talking about? Well, you know how Mom's been since Dad passed away? She's been feeling pretty lonely, and honestly, so have I during this deployment. Yeah, I've noticed. It must be really tough for her. Exactly, and well, I was thinking, maybe you could both use each other's company a bit more, spend more time together. Francis, please. I know things have been a bit strained between you and Mom since, the wedding incident. The wine incident, you mean? Yeah, that was something. Let me give you a little backstory. Our beef goes way back to my wedding day. Imagine the stress of planning, coordinating, and trying to keep my cool and not look like a crazy person, even though I most certainly am. And just trying to relax a bit before I tie the knot. And then there's Lily, my dear mother-in-law. She's got a way of pushing my buttons, a skill she honed on that very day. She had an agenda, not a subtle one, mind you, to make my life a tad more chaotic. Petty actions? Oh, she had those in spades. You see, there I was trying to get ready and savor every moment before the big I do. Lily, with a grin that could only be called devious, accidentally spilled red wine on my pristine white wedding dress. Red wine, folks, on a white dress. It was like a nightmare unfolding in slow motion. Of course, she claimed it was a mishap, saying she had butterfingers because her baby boy was growing up, but I knew better. That twinkle in her eyes said it all. She did it on purpose. From that moment, our relationship took a nosedive. It was like a layer of trust had been peeled away, revealing the tension simmering beneath the surface. Every encounter after that was laced with passive-aggressive comments and thinly veiled sarcasm. A friendly chat turned into a battlefield of snide remarks. It was exhausting, to say the least. So, naturally, I distanced myself from the hag. I wasn't interested in catching a case. But because of the love I had for Francis and the hurt he had in his voice, I relented. I mean, how couldn't I? I just felt so bad for him enduring all of that BS during his service, all of that hardcore training and sleepless nights. I knew that I at least owed it to him to try. Besides, it had been years after that, so I was hoping that Lily did some growing up. Well, if it's important to you, I'm willing to give it a try. Besides, I'm all about supporting each other. That's my girl. I know it won't be easy, especially with the history you guys have, but who knows? Maybe you'll discover you have more in common than you think. I'll keep an open mind, I promise. But just so you know, if she tries to spill wine on anything again, I'll have a word with her. No more sabotage attempts, I swear. All right then, let's do this. For you and us, and even for Lily. Thanks, Millie. It means a lot to me, and I promise I'll make up for it when I'm back. After Francis and I had the heart-to-heart about reconnecting with his mother, I mustered up the courage to contact Lily. I knew it wouldn't be easy considering our history, but I was determined to make an effort for the sake of my husband and the overall atmosphere in our family. Biggest mistake ever. Lily's response was as passive-aggressive as I had anticipated. She reluctantly admitted that Francis had given her a stern talking to about how she treated me. She promised that she would try to tolerate me more, emphasizing the word try, with just the right amount of emphasis to let me know that this wasn't going to be a smooth ride. So we began to spend more time together. It was rocky at first with the tension in the air, so thick that you could practically cut it with a knife. But slowly we found some common ground, bonding over old family stories and shared experiences. Things were decent, at least for a while, but then old Lily started to rear her ugly head again. It was subtle at first, those little jabs and digs that only I seemed to notice. A snide comment here, a passive-aggressive remark there. So, Mean Girls in high school, it was pathetic. It was like she couldn't help herself. And it was driving me absolutely insane. Months went by and the frustration kept building. I was tired of being the nice girl who was trying so hard to make things work. I had enough of the fake smiles and forced conversations. I wanted to address the elephant in the room, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. So one day, I gathered my courage and decided to confront Lily about her behavior. We were at her place, sipping on some tea that I swear tasted more bitter than usual. As I tried to find the right words, my heart was racing a mile a minute. Finally, I just blurted it out. Lily, I can't ignore the fact that things have been tense between us. I thought we were making progress, but these little jabs and digs, they're getting to me. Lily looked at me with that practiced innocence, but I wasn't falling for it this time. Oh dear, I'm not sure what you mean. I took a deep breath, my frustration turning into determination. You know exactly what I mean, and honestly, I'm tired of playing nice. If we're going to make this work, we need to have an honest conversation. And that's when all hell broke loose. Our conversation escalated into a full-blown argument, each word more heated than the last. Our voices were raised, and I swear I could feel the tension in the room choking the air out of me. I'm not going to lie, I was half expecting my nosy neighbor to call the cops, thinking some sort of domestic dispute was happening. As the shouting continued, it hit me just how deep the resentment ran. This wasn't just about spilled wine on my wedding dress anymore. It was about years of misunderstandings, miscommunications, and a whole lot of pent-up anger. And in that moment, I realized that there was no going back to the way things were. Our argument eventually subsided, leaving the room feeling heavy with the weight of our words. I left Lily's place that day feeling drained, but strangely liberated. We had finally let it all out, and while it might not have been the most graceful or eloquent exchange, it was real. In the aftermath, I felt a mix of emotions, relief, sadness, and even a strange sort of clarity. It was clear to me that some wounds ran too deep to heal with just a few tea sessions and polite conversations. After that intense argument with Lily, I found myself sitting in my living room, the weight of everything that had transpired hanging heavily in the air. I was fed up, worn out from the constant tension and bickering. It was as if the walls of that big house were closing in on me, suffocating me with memories and unresolved issues. As the days went by, I couldn't shake off the feeling of loneliness that seemed to have taken residence in every corner of our rented home. Francis was still on duty, serving his deployment miles away, and the house felt emptier than ever. It was a stark reminder of how much I missed him and how far apart we were, and after fighting with my mother-in-law, I just felt extra lonely. I was sick of either being too far away from the people I loved or too close to the people I didn't. So the idea of moving began to take root in my mind. Downgrading to a smaller place seemed like a breath of fresh air. It wasn't just about saving money, although that was definitely a plus. It was about creating a space that felt more manageable, cozier, and most importantly, free from the constant BS of Lily. During one of our video calls, I brought up the idea to Francis. He was surprisingly open to it. At the time, I didn't mention the fight with Lily, acknowledging that it might be a good move for us, especially if it meant easing some of the financial burden. But then, in that way that only he could, he asked the question that I had been avoiding. "Hey, babe." "Yes?" Part of me can't shake the idea that this also has something to do with a certain someone. "Did you and my mom get at it again? Does she have anything to do with you wanting to move?" I sighed, feeling a mix of frustration and relief that he had brought it up. "Yeah, it's partly about her. I mean, I tried, Francis. I really did. But she's just so abrasive, you know? It's like every conversation with her is a battle, and I've had enough." Francis nodded sympathetically on the screen. "I get it, Millie. You've done your best to bridge that gap, but if it's causing you this much stress, maybe it's time to prioritize your own well-being. I genuinely don't know why my mom hates you so much. I'll do what I can, but my hands are tied since I'm out here. But I love you, and I want to support you the best way I can. And if it means moving out, then so be it." And there it was, his unwavering support and understanding, just as I had come to expect from him. It wasn't about running away from the problem, but finding a solution that allowed us both to breathe a little easier. His words reassured me that it was okay to put myself first and to seek a healthier environment where I could thrive without constantly being on edge. As our conversation continued, I felt a renewed sense of determination. Moving wouldn't solve all of our problems, but it would be a step towards reclaiming my peace of mind. And with Francis by my side, even though he was miles away, I felt empowered to make decisions that would lead to a more positive and fulfilling future. So, as I looked around our living room, I imagined what it would be like to start anew in a cozier space, free from the ghosts of unresolved conflicts. I was ready to take that step, to create a space where Francis and I could find solace in each other's company, without the constant weight of negativity that had plagued our relationship with Lily. So, fast forwarding about 3 months, I was all settled into this cool apartment. Honestly, it had been such a game changer. You wouldn't believe how freeing it felt to escape that old place with all its bad vibes. Anyway, my 26th birthday was on the horizon and I was stoked. It was going to be my first time celebrating in my new digs, and I was determined to make it awesome. Usually, I'd leave my home out the night before the party so my friends and family could deck out the place, because they always wanted to surprise me. But this year called for a little something different. I obviously couldn't have a grand party in such a tiny apartment. My friends were there and we were getting the party started before our early flight the next day. You know, having a pre-trip hangout, crashing at my place, and then jetting off together. We were having a great time. The living room was buzzing with laughter and chatter as we geared up for the adventure. But obviously, things can't stay the same forever, right? During all the excitement, my phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Curious, I checked it out. "Call me now. Something important to talk about." It was quick and to the point, but the urgency in it made me wonder what was up. I slipped away from the crew, heading to my bedroom to dial her up. My heart was racing a bit, like, what was so urgent? "Hello? Hello, Lily? What's going on?" "I've had enough of your crap, Millie. What the hell is wrong with you?" "Excuse me?" "You heard me. What is your problem? Why do you have to go and try to make my son hate me?" "Oh, I see. You're mad because I told your son the truth?" "What truth? You're ridiculous, you know that?" "Lily, I don't have time to deal with you, okay? I'm sick of you and your bitterness. I don't care that you're a miserable person. Just leave me alone and let me enjoy my birthday weekend." "Speaking of that, I wanted to let you know something. You're not going to be enjoying your birthday this year. You should thank me for the heads up." "What the hell? What are you talking about?" "Well, I was feeling a bit bitter after not being invited this year, you see, so I took the liberty of contributing as best I could so that I could at least do something special for the birthday girl." "What the hell did you do, Lily?" "Well, I'm sure you'd like to see it for yourself tomorrow, but I can't hold it any longer. I broke into your home and broke everything. All of the decorations, the furniture, everything is broken. Come to think of it, I did you a favor because your friends did a terrible job at decorating this year. Honestly, it looked like a completely different person was living in that house." I took a long pause, practically hearing Lily smirking on the phone before she said, "Oh, looks like I did my job and gave the birthday girl a great surprise. Happy birthday, Millie. Hope you have a blast." I started laughing, and this seemed to anger Lily. "Why are you laughing? What's so funny? You should be crying right now." "Oh, Lily, you idiot." "Excuse me?" "You think you're so smart, don't you? Well, I will say one thing. You did manage to surprise me, that's for sure. I didn't know you could be so horrible, but you made a big mistake, love." "Oh, yeah? And what's that?" "That's not my house." "What? Have you lost your mind or something?" "Nope. But you will once you realize whose house you just broke into and vandalized." So I spilled the beans to Lily about my move 3 months back. I guess it was kind of unexpected for her to hear that I'd decided to pack up and leave. The old house was history, and in its place was this new sheriff who had rolled into town. Yeah, this sheriff, Liam, he had snagged the house. He was new to the area and was planning on moving in with his family. I had met him a couple of times and I could already tell he was one of those genuinely nice guys. Like, he was all about getting his place ship-shape before his family came over. As I explained all this to Lily, I could sense her mood changing. She was starting to freak out, and I knew why. Lily realized that she had just messed with the wrong person big time. See, vandalizing a regular home was one thing, but taking on the new sheriff's house was on a whole different level of crazy. I heard her shiver on the other end of the line, and I knew she was beginning to understand the magnitude of what she had done. The panic in her voice was palpable as she asked, "Oh my God, Millie, what have I done?" I let out a chuckle, but it wasn't a happy one. "Well, Lily, you decided to mess with the sheriff's home. You're on your own with this one." She began to cry and panic, begging me to help her fix the situation. She didn't even say she was sorry for attempting to vandalize my home. What a witch. She wanted me to reach out to the sheriff and tell him it was all some big misunderstanding. But seriously, this was just too rich. Lily was reaping what she had sown, and I wasn't about to bail her out. I had to hold back a laugh as she sobbed over the phone, saying her life was ruined. I wasn't feeling bad for her, not in the slightest. She had played these games for years, and now she was facing the consequences. It was kind of poetic justice, if you ask me. Millie, please, please help me. Oh God, I'm gonna go to jail. I just shook my head even though she couldn't see it. Sorry, Lily, you got yourself into this mess, and I suggest you figure your way out. I won't be part of it. I will say you've made my night, though. This is the best birthday present I could ask for. I ended the call and let out a sigh of relief. Finally, I was done with Lily and her drama. It was time to move forward and live my life without her constant negativity dragging me down. As I glanced around my cozy new apartment, I knew I had made the right choice in leaving that old place behind. The next day was the start of my vacation with my friends. We were ready for some fun and adventure, and I was determined to leave Lily's mess far behind me. As my friends and I jetted off, I ignored all of her calls. I had made up my mind that I was done with her and her toxicity. I managed to finally get a hold of my husband, Francis, while we were on a break. I told him everything that had gone down with Lily. He was understandably upset with his mother for her ridiculous behavior. It was like she had finally pushed it too far, and he was glad that she was finally getting a taste of what she had been dishing out. As my friends and I enjoyed our vacation, I was still getting updates from some friends and acquaintances back home. They were filling me in on what happened with Lily. Turns out, after all her crazy antics, she had landed herself in a jail cell. And the irony of it all, she had nobody to bail her out. It was like the universe was serving her a hefty dose of karma. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction as I heard about Lily's situation. For so long, she had acted like she could do whatever she pleased without any consequences. But now she was facing the music all on her own. She had burned so many bridges and pushed away everyone who might have been willing to help her. While I was basking in the sun with my friends, Lily was stuck in a jail cell with nobody to turn to. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, knowing that I was free from her toxic influence. I was no longer going to be dragged down by her manipulations and hurtful actions. As my vacation came to an end, I returned home feeling refreshed and renewed. Lily's chapter in my life was officially closed, and I was ready to move forward without her. It was a liberating feeling knowing that I had taken control of my own happiness and left behind the negativity that had held me back for so long. Life moved on, and I focused on building positive relationships and surrounding myself with people who truly cared about me. Francis and I were stronger than ever, united in our determination to create a happy and healthy life together. And as for Lily, well, she had finally reaped what she had sown, and it was a lesson she wouldn't soon forget. Hello guys, my name's Jill. I'm a widow who was unlucky enough to lose the love of her life at a very young age. My husband was truly my soulmate and my best friend. After he passed from a sudden illness, I heavily relied on my family for emotional support. My mom and dad were of great help, but my brother Kurt wasn't. Kurt was more interested in the fact that I had inherited $1 million estate from my husband. He was a rich man and left me with a lot of money. I also worked from home and got a decent salary. All in all, I was pretty well off, but that didn't matter to me. I would trade it all to get my husband back. Somehow, my brother wasn't interested in my feelings at all. Kurt had a stepdaughter, Nina, from his wife, Betty. They married 2 years ago, and Betty had been living with them. Kurt and Betty used to pester me to take over some of Nina's responsibilities. They said, "Jill, your husband did leave you with a lot of money. Any ideas on what you want to do with it?" "I am least interested in thinking about the money or estate, Betty. For now, I'm trying hard to recover from my husband's death." "Yeah, I understand that, but it sure is a lot of money. You don't even have kids. You should be using it on someone important." "What do you mean, Betty? And why are you so concerned about my money?" "Relax, Jill. I was just having a discussion. You know, you have some family members who could really use some help. Nina has taken a liking to you. You should maybe spend some more time with her." Yeah, since you don't have a child of your own, it will help you experience a little bit of motherhood. You'll be a great aunt to Nina. Think about it. Why don't I drop her off at your place when you're free? I was really surprised by what Kurt and Betty were trying to tell me. Even our parents were ashamed of them. They scolded Kurt and Betty for making such weird plans. To be honest, I was extremely mad at my brother for thinking about taking advantage of me when I was still dealing with my husband's death. Plus, I didn't even know Nina that well for them to assume I would take her responsibility. Days passed, but Kurt and Betty never stopped trying to put Nina's responsibility on me. They often asked for money and told me how I should be helping them out more since I don't have children to spend on. I was getting really tired of their behavior. One day, I got so pissed that I told them off. I said, "You need to stop trying to pass on your child to me. Yes, I don't have children, but I am not entitled to taking care of your child." "How can you be so mean, Jill? Nina is your niece, so she is already your family. You should not talk about her that way." "Yes, exactly, Betty. She is my niece and not my child. It's not my responsibility to take care of her. It's yours and Kurt's." "Come on, Jill. You literally have so much money. Why can't you just take some of Nina's responsibilities? We can leave you at your house so that you can feel like her mother." "Listen to me, you two. I am not and never will be Nina's parent. And you two are not entitled to my money just because you have kids. I am not responsible for your parental duties towards your own kids. So don't even bother pressuring me into this." I scolded Betty and Kurt a lot that day, so they went quiet for a while. They also knew that the family was not very pleased with their behavior either. That's why things had been peaceful for some time. That was until Kurt gave us some shocking news. One morning, Kurt told us that Betty had gone missing. Apparently, she was having a mental health crisis and ran off somewhere. Kurt claimed to have informed the cops and they are now looking for Betty. I was very surprised to hear this news. Betty seemed fine to me, so I didn't know what caused her to snap all of a sudden. Anyway, days passed and there was no sign of Betty. Kurt was taking a lot of help from family to take care of Nina, who was still with him. The poor girl was crying and asking for her mother, so the family took turns being with her. She was on summer break and needed a babysitter at all times when Kurt left for work. After managing for a few days, Kurt came to me with a request. He said, "Jill, I was hoping you would help me take care of Nina. She's very young and needs a mother figure right now. I don't know when we can get hold of Betty. Nina has been crying for her mom and I hate to leave her with a babysitter all day. Can you help me out a bit?" "Sure, Kurt. My heart breaks for poor Nina. God knows where her mom is right now. I can't believe she would abandon her daughter like this. Still, I hope whatever mental health crisis she's dealing with right now gets resolved. That poor girl needs her mother. Until then, I can take care of her." "Great then. I'll drop her off whenever I'm at work. She is a good kid and won't disturb you much. I'll collect her back from your house after I leave work. Thank you so much for your help, Jill." Kurt's sudden enthusiasm kind of threw me off a bit. He suspiciously didn't look like someone whose wife was missing and had left a small child. Nina had been a little distressed, but looked fine to me as well. Still, I could see that she was struggling with something, so I decided to help my brother out. No matter what beef I had with Betty, it shouldn't stop me from looking after a small child. Nina started to be around me a lot from then. Kurt dropped her off every day while he was on his way to work. Then he used to pick her up when he was off work. I actually gave him a copy of my house keys to make things easier. Thankfully, Nina settled in with me quite well. She loved being around me and was looking a lot better now. She looked a little weary at times, but it never lasted long. My house was feeling a bit full with her presence. I was fine paying for her meals and toys since I didn't want to put pressure on Kurt. However, I never expected Kurt to turn this into something permanent. One day, he said, Hey, Jill, I was hoping we could talk about something. So, I see that Nina's really happy with you. When she goes home, she can't stop talking about how great her day was. She really loves you, Jill. I'm happy to know that, Kurt. She is a good child and doesn't give me any trouble. I wonder how a woman like Betty ended up having such a good kid like Nina. Must be because of her father. Who knows? Yeah, maybe she gets that from her dad. Anyway, so I have a few business trips coming up, and we still are not close to finding Betty, so I was hoping Nina could be with you full time for now. What? You want me to take in Nina full time? Like you want her to stay here with me? Yes, Jill. Look, you stay alone and have plenty of room here. Nina loves it here and doesn't disturb you. I don't see how it can be a problem. I really need to concentrate on my work and look for Betty. Having Nina around is distracting and I don't have time to pay attention to her. Kurt, you can't just spring this on me. This is ridiculous. Your stepdaughter needs to stay with you. You can't just ship her off to me when things are tough. That's not being a good parent. I know that, Jill. I'm trying to do the best for Nina right now. Please, think about that poor child and keep her. It's only for a short time. Once I get my ducks in a row, I will take her back. You won't have to worry about her anymore. Kurt kept begging and pleading with me to let Nina stay with me. I was pretty annoyed with him, but needed to think about Nina. It was true that she seemed happier with me, but taking her in-house was a big responsibility, so I wasn't sure. Somehow, Kurt involved our parents and extended family who were also pressuring me to take Nina in. They felt bad for the child and for Kurt. After being under immense pressure, I agreed to take Nina in. Kurt seemed to be very happy with this outcome. Slowly, Nina moved into my house and stayed there permanently. I set up one of the spare rooms for her and even added new furniture to accommodate her. Plus, I bought her a lot of toys and clothes. She was happy to be around me and enjoyed being at the house. I was also growing close to her. Nina considered me as one of her parents. That's why it was easy for her to tell me the truth about Kurt and Betty. Yes, it was Nina who exposed the horrible secret of her family. One day, she said, "You are so nice, Aunt Jill. I love you a lot. Dad says that you love me as well." I do love you a lot, Nina. You are almost like my own child now. Do you like being here at my house? Yes, Jill, I love being here. Mom likes coming here too. She says that one day you'll give me the house and we can all stay here together. What? What do you mean, Nina? When did your mother talk to you about this? She tells me almost every day, Jill. She told me not to tell you, but I feel bad keeping secrets. Mom doesn't want you to know that she is here. Your mom has been visiting this house? But how, Nina? I don't understand. You gave Kurt a set of your keys. Mom said that Kurt gave her those keys so that she could come and see me. When does your mom visit you, Nina? I don't see her around when I come. She visits when you are out for groceries and shopping. She usually leaves before you come home. My head was spinning with all this information. I couldn't believe how badly my brother and his wife betrayed me. I had a hard time believing what I was hearing from Nina. Yes, it's true that I left Nina with my housekeeper when I went shopping, but I had no idea that Betty was sneaking in with the house keys when the housekeeper was busy with her work. And she somehow left before I returned. The sheer calculation that Kurt and Betty used to chalk out this plan was mind-blowing. I was truly in shock. I decided to get some more information from Nina. I said, "Nina, do you know why your mom is pretending to be missing? You know that she made everyone believe that she is not in the city." Mom said that she needed to do this for us. She wants you to take me in and keep me as your child. She says that you're rich and will give me a good life because you don't have children. That's why she did this. How much of this does Kurt know, Nina? Is he helping your mom as well? I know Kurt wants me to take care of you. Believe me, I like having you around. I'm just curious, so I'm asking. Yeah, they told me not to tell you and pretend that Mom is not around. I love you, so I told you everything. I hope you're not mad at me. Oh, Nina, I'm not mad at you, dear. Thank you so much for sharing your secrets with me. It was very exciting to hear this. I wanted to get Kurt and beat the shit out of him. I felt used and manipulated. Those two imbeciles were using me to get my money. They played with my emotions and used their freaking child for their schemes. I was fuming. I didn't know Kurt and Betty could be so greedy that they would go this far. They lied to the entire family to make Nina my heir. They were pathetic and disgusting as parents. I didn't even want to call Kurt my brother anymore. But first, I needed to catch them red-handed. I informed my housekeeper about what was going on and told her to keep an eye on everything. She was embarrassed by the fact that someone had been sneaking in behind her back. I assured her that I wasn't mad because my freaking brother was the one who gave Betty the key. Together, along with Nina, we made a plan. I was going to end this game once and for all. The next day, I decided to go on a shopping trip. I left the house in a good mood and went off in my car. Then, I made 2 circles around the neighborhood before hopping right back into the house. My housekeeper gave me the green signal, and I marched inside straight into Nina's room. She was alone playing with her toys. I looked at her and raised my eyebrows. She nodded at me and pointed straight to the closet. I went to her closet and opened the door with a very serious face. Lo and behold, I found my dear sister-in-law, Betty, sitting inside the small space. As soon as she saw me, she turned as white as a ghost. I dragged her out and said, "So, are you going to tell me what you were doing in my house and hiding in my closet?" I was just visiting my daughter. Well, who exactly gave you permission to enter my house? I don't remember ever giving you a set of my house keys. And weren't you supposed to be missing? I got it from Kurt. I was missing Nina. I just came back today. I was desperate to see my daughter, so I came here without your permission. Ah, so you suddenly came back today. Pray tell me why Nina has been telling me that you visited her every time I left the house. Do you have a good answer to that? She's a child and doesn't know what she's saying. You shouldn't believe her words. She is a child. That's why she told me the truth. You tried to recruit your child in your evil plans of enjoying my money. You should be ashamed of yourself, Betty. You should have thought twice before trespassing into my house. You know that I can get you arrested, right? Betty looked really frightened and started to sweat. It didn't occur to her that she literally came to my house illegally, and I was well within my rights to get her arrested. She was really nervous when she comprehended the situation. She knew that she was stuck. I told the housekeeper to take Nina to my room so that Betty couldn't use her as a blackmail tool. She was stuck with me for good. She said, "Jill, there's no need to get the police involved. I swear I just returned today. I just wanted to see Nina, so I begged Kurt for the keys." Is that so, Betty? Then why is Kurt saying that he still hasn't heard from you? Stop trying to twist the story, Betty. I know well enough that you and Kurt made up this plan to manipulate me. Your daughter has told me everything. Jill, you have to understand, I only had her best interest in mind. I was a poor and desperate mother who wanted her daughter to have a good life. Is that why you've been telling Nina about you all living in my house? Your daughter's a good kid, Betty. She knows that what you did was wrong. So she told me everything. You thought you could take advantage of me by using your child. Well, you are wrong. Now, I will show you what happens to people who mess with me. As soon as I said this, I could already hear the sirens in the distance. Yes, I called the cops on Betty the moment I walked in through my door. She entered my house without my permission. I was going to teach her a nice lesson. She tried to run, but I caught her and kept her in place. The cops came and took my statement. Then they arrested her. I also graciously informed them about the whole situation, which absolutely shocked them. Needless to say, they contacted CPS to have them look into the case. Since her mom was now in jail, Nina's dad would get full custody of her now. As for my brother, karma was knocking at his door too. After the cops took Betty away, I went straight to my parents. From there, we called Kurt and told him to come over. By the time he arrived, he already knew that his grand plan had been discovered. He looked embarrassed and refused to meet our eyes. I said, "Do you have anything to say for yourself, Kurt? Don't bother lying because we are way past that now. I know the truth just as well as you do." "I'm sorry, Jill. I really did what was best for Nina. I knew that you had the means to give her a luxurious life. You are alone and don't have children, so we thought having Nina around would be good for you too." "That is bullshit, Kurt. You did this all for yourselves. Nina would be the happiest around her parents. Instead of working hard and providing for Nina, you decided to dump her on me instead. You didn't care if I was alone. You only cared about who my heir would be. So you used that poor child to trap me." "Jill, please believe me. I don't care what you wanted, Kurt. The truth is that you lied to me and played with my feelings. I helped you out all the time, and this is how you treat me. From today, you are on your own. Nina is going to her father anyway. After this day, I don't have a brother, and don't even think about asking me for money again. I won't help you, even if you are dying." Kurt didn't expect me to be so hard on him. He looked shocked and immediately started to apologize and beg for forgiveness. He even tried to recruit our parents to speak for him. Instead, my parents jumped on him and berated him for being a lying and scheming witch. They also told him that they felt betrayed and wanted nothing to do with him anymore. And they promised to tell everyone what a horrible person he and Betty were. My parents were always high on morals and ethics, so my brother's greedy schemes and manipulations really set them off. They were also offended on my behalf and wanted to teach the couple a nice lesson. After they screamed at him for an hour, they ungraciously kicked him out. Kurt did show up at my door to beg me for forgiveness. My police case had indeed landed them in a lot of trouble. CPS is looking into the case, and it looks like Betty will lose custody of Nina to her ex-husband. Kurt apparently doesn't have any savings to get Betty out of jail. Her husband was already on his way to get Nina while she stayed with me for the time being. I told Kurt that he and Betty deserved whatever was happening to them. Then I shut the door on their faces. From what I hear, no one is willing to support Kurt or Betty anymore. They are alone with a nice lawsuit hanging on their head. Nina has been picked up by her father, who thanked me for taking such good care of her. I still talk to the little girl at times, but mostly my life is back to where it was. Hey all, I'm Allison, 30 female. Growing up, I had the privilege of being spoiled. My father, a successful businessman, provided me with a more than comfortable life. However, don't mistake my privilege for snobbery. Sure, I enjoyed the finer things in life, but I also knew the value of humility. I wasn't just a spoiled brat. I was so much more than that. Unfortunately, the moment people heard my name, their assumptions would kick in. They would turn away, assuming that I was just another entitled rich kid. It was disheartening to see how quickly people judged me without even getting to know me. As a result, I found myself lacking genuine friendships, often surrounded by jealousy instead of genuine connections. It left me feeling lonely and, at times, desperate for meaningful relationships. That's when Victor entered my life. We met, sparks flew, and before I knew it, we were married after only 3 months of dating. Stupid, I know, but what can I say? It was a whirlwind romance, the kind you see in movies. For the first time, I experienced what it truly meant to be in love, and I held on to it with all my might. Victor was my anchor, my partner in crime, and my rock in this unpredictable world. But, as they say, life is never smooth sailing. Along with my newfound happiness came the complexities of navigating family dynamics. You see, Victor's parents, Asher and Jenny, were not exactly thrilled with our relationship. They had reservations about me, their assumptions fueled by the stereotypes associated with my background. I understood their concerns, their desire to protect their son from potential heartache or manipulation or the negatives that come with living a super lavish lifestyle. But it pained me to see their judgment without truly getting to know who I was as a person. I yearned for their acceptance and tried my best to prove that I was more than just a spoiled girl. Something changed the trajectory of my life forever, and it all started on this particular day, months after Victor and I tied the knot. Jenny, Victor's mother, called me out of the blue. It was a sunny afternoon, and I was caught off guard by her unusually chipper tone. You know, the kind of tone that makes your heart skip a beat because you know something unexpected is coming your way. Jenny began by exchanging pleasantries, and then she dropped the bombshell. She wanted to go on a trip, a luxurious getaway, and her and Asher had been saving their hard-earned money to make it happen. I could sense the anticipation in their voice, the excitement of something extraordinary on the horizon. In an attempt to please Jenny and finally get in her good graces, I blurted out without much thought, "Oh, don't worry about money. I'll take care of everything." "Seriously? You do that?" "Of course, you're my family and I want you to fully enjoy your trip without worrying about expenses." "I couldn't possibly let you do that, sweetie. It's too much." "Nonsense. It's all on me. I love you and I want all of us to have a good time. Now, tell me about the details of the trip." Jenny's joy was palpable. She was really happy knowing that I was willing to shoulder the financial burden. I thought that this gesture would let her know that I cared and that I wanted to help in any way I could, and she seemed to be really appreciative. "Since you're footing the bill, we needn't worry about anything else. Asher and I will plan the itinerary, so don't worry about the nitty-gritty, all right?" "All right, Jenny, I'm so excited." We cut the call and proceeded to go on about our days respectively. The week leading up to the trip was filled with excitement and anticipation. Victor and I gushed about everything we'd get to do. It was almost like we were kids excited to go to Disneyland. Amidst all the excitement, I even splurged on first-class tickets, wanting us to arrive in style and experience the journey with utmost comfort. Finally, the day arrived and we found ourselves in the breathtaking beauty of Morocco. The vibrant colors, the bustling markets, and the rich culture immediately captivated us. For Victor, Asher, and Jenny, it was their first international trip and their amazement was contagious. Even though I had been to Morocco before, I couldn't help but fall in love with the place all over again. Being the one with previous experience in Morocco, I took on the role of a tour guide eager to show them the best spots and immerse them in the local culture. "We have to explore the Djemma El Fna Square in Marrakesh. It's so beautiful. And don't even get me started on the cuisine." At first, everything seemed great. Victor, Asher, and Jenny seemed appreciative of my efforts, and we were having a wonderful time. However, things took a turn when we arrived at the luxurious 5-star hotel that Jenny had planned and booked. We arrived at the beautiful Stardust Hotel. As I started unpacking in the hotel room, Asher suddenly said I should stop. Confused, I asked him what was up. "Ali, you won't be staying with us in this fancy hotel. We've got a different place for you." I was taken aback, trying to wrap my head around what he was saying. I thought he was joking, so I laughed it off and continued, but Victor, my husband, approached me and tightened his grip on my arm, silently telling me to hold on a minute. I looked to Jenny for an explanation. Jenny, with a smirk on her face, chimed in. "Oh, Ali, this 5-star hotel is just for us. We found a motel online where you'll be staying." My jaw practically hit the floor. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I turned to Victor, searching for answers in his eyes, but he stayed silent. My frustration grew, and I desperately tried to understand their twisted reasoning. "What are you saying? Why are you doing this?" Jenny and Asher wasted no time in explaining themselves. They claimed that they never really liked me, thinking I was too full of myself. This was their way of teaching me a lesson in humility. You've been spoiled for too long. You need to be humbled. I mean, seriously? Who offers to cover all the expenses on the luxury trip? And let us go first class? You just never stop, do you? You're always showing off your money. I did no such thing. I was just trying to be kind. Oh, please, Ali. We all know that you're obsessed with your money. You too? What is wrong with all of you? You think you're better than all of us, don't you? With your fancy dad and his fancy money, what would happen if he lost everything? You'd be nothing. I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. Are you kidding me? I've always appreciated what I have, and I've never acted like I'm better than anyone. I just wanted to take my family on a trip. What's wrong with that? Asher and Jenny both wore smug expressions as if they were proud of themselves. It was crystal clear that their dislike for me ran deep. They were willing to go to extreme lengths to put me down without considering how hurtful their actions were. I turned to Victor, and for a moment he looked remorseful. I shrugged away from him and said, "All of you are idiots. I guess I'm an idiot too for trusting any of you." I was so fed up and angry that I grabbed all my stuff and stormed out of that hotel room like a thunderstorm. Let me tell you, I was fuming. How could they treat me like this? As I made my way down to the lobby, my phone buzzed and I saw a notification from Jenny. Can you believe she had the audacity to send me the details of that crummy hotel they booked for me? Ugh, I couldn't even deal with it. I just blocked all three of them right then and there. I didn't need that negativity in my life. So there I was, stuck in the hotel lobby, feeling completely defeated. I walked up to the front desk, hoping that they had some other room available. But guess what? They were fully booked. Talk about adding insult to injury. I was so upset and didn't know what to do. I found myself sitting in the lobby, tears streaming down my face. It was in that moment of despair that I decided to call my dad. I poured my heart out to my dad. I told him everything that had happened, from the messed up booking to being left stranded in the lobby. He listened to me without interrupting, his voice filled with understanding. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry you had to go through all of that. I've always told you to be careful before rushing into a marriage. With our type of money, there are vampires always out to get us." "I know, Dad. It's just I thought things were different with Victor. I thought he truly loved me. I just feel so stupid." Sometimes people disappoint us, Allie. It's a tough lesson to learn, but it doesn't define you. Yeah, I guess you're right. It just hurts so much, you know? I understand, sweetheart. But remember, you're a soldier. This setback won't keep you down for long. You're strong and you'll rise above it. I know it. Thanks, Dad. I really needed to hear that. Then my dad said, "By the way, which hotel are you in?" "It's called the Stardust Hotel, but I already checked. They're fully booked." "You know, you could easily clear out the place if you wanted to." "I know, but why would I displace all these people? They deserve to enjoy their stay here, even if this place is harboring some idiots who kicked me out." The nerve. I literally paid for the hotel room and they had the audacity to kick me out. Hold on. Did you say Stardust? Yeah, I did. Why? Wait one moment, Cupcake. I need to check something. He put me on hold for a couple of minutes, and when he returned, his voice was filled with excitement. "Tell those fools to get out of my hotel." "What? Your hotel? What do you mean?" "Turns out I own the place." "Wait, what? How is that even possible?" It's actually quite a funny story. So I was gambling. I know you said I should stop, but it was one time, I promise. Uh-huh, sure. Anyways, the lads and I were gambling and my friend was sloppy drunk, completely wasted. He ended up betting on his hotel. We strongly advised him not to do it, but he just wouldn't listen. Ali, that friend of mine, is Moroccan, and the hotel in question is Stardust. I was speechless, not knowing how to react. It felt like a twist of fate, a lucky coincidence, like a deus ex machina. I'm presuming you won? Always. I never lose, you know that. I could practically hear him smirking through the phone. I don't know what to say. That's completely insane. I forgot to check up with him about transferring ownership. This game happened about a month ago, but I called him up when I put you on hold. You're insane. No wonder people think we're snobby. Well, that's just how the game works. Now go and kick those buffoons out of my hotel. Thanks, Dad. Don't mention it, sweetheart. You can stay in the luxury you deserve. Enjoy your time in Morocco and take a picture of their faces when you tell them the truth. I couldn't thank my dad enough for his support, and this unexpected turn of events, it felt like a ray of hope amidst the darkness. As I hung up the phone, a sense of resilience and determination filled me. I was ready to make the most of my time in Morocco, knowing that I had my dad's love and support, and the opportunity to turn this challenging situation into a remarkable experience. I stormed back to the hotel room where Jenny, Victor, and Asher were staying. My anger fueled my determination as I knocked on the door, demanding their attention. Victor opened the door, surprised to see me, but I didn't give him a chance to speak. I'm coming in whether you like it or not. I barged into the room and Jenny immediately started screaming. What do you think you're doing here? Didn't we already kick you out? Look, boy, she thinks that she can just waltz in here like she owns the place. Actually, I kind of do. Get a load of this. Are you so spoiled that you think any luxurious thing belongs to you? What did I tell you guys? I was right all along. If you don't get out of here, I'll just have to call security. Imagine that. The daughter of a billionaire is escorted out of the premises by security. How embarrassing. Actually, Jenny, you won't be needing to call security. Jenny, they're already here. At that moment, the security guards who had accompanied me made their way inside. They began tossing out everyone's belongings, scattering them in the hallway. Asher, confused and alarmed, said, "What the heck is going on here?" It was the perfect moment to reveal the trump card I had. Well, it turns out my dad happens to own this hotel, so you can all say goodbye to your luxurious stay because I don't appreciate the plan you had to get me. What? That's impossible. When you live the type of lifestyle I do, these sorts of things aren't too outlandish. You're gonna pay for this, kid. I already did pay for this. Don't think I get any special passes. I'm a paying customer and I paid for this room. Ali, please. Oh, now you want to crawl back. I'm afraid it's too little too late. Allison, please. We don't know anything about Morocco. Where are we going to go? Unfortunately, that's none of my business. Oh, hey, maybe you could stay in that motel that you got for me. I don't think that single bed will fit all three of you, though. Maybe two of you could sleep on the floor. You're a monster. Asher, it's all of you who are the monsters. You treated me like crap, and you thought I'd let you get away with it? You're even dumber than you look. Ali, I'm so sorry. Me too, Victor. I'm so sorry that I trusted you guys. Anyways, enjoy your stay in Morocco, or don't. I don't care. And Victor, I'll need those divorce papers signed ASAP once I send them to you. I can't stand the thought of still being related to any of you in any way after what you did to me today. Jenny sobbed uncontrollably and Asher tried to resist shouting at the guards, but he was no match for the bulky security team who swiftly restrained him and escorted them out of the room. As they were being led away, Asher couldn't resist making a snide remark about me being a spoiled brat. My anger boiled over, and without thinking, I spat in his face. You know what, Asher? You can all go to hell. Jenny, Victor, and Asher were embarrassingly thrown out of the hotel, their faces filled with humiliation as they were escorted by security. A couple of hours had gone by and they were stranded on the side of the road as they desperately Googled hotels that could accommodate them. They tried to reach out to me, probably realizing the gravity of their actions, but since I had blocked their contacts, they resorted to sending me desperate emails, revealing their failed attempts at finding available hotels. I read their emails, but I had no interest in engaging with their apologies or pleas for forgiveness. I called my dad to update him on the situation. Dad, you won't believe what I'm seeing right now. I can spot Jenny, Victor, and Asher from my window. They look so lost and helpless. I think they've been looking for a hotel for some time now. I'm surprised that it's taken them this long. Well, my dear, about that. Oh, God. Dad, what did you do? I've taken matters into my own hands. I made a few calls and called in some favors. Their names are blacklisted, making it nearly impossible for them to even secure a reservation at a decent hotel. Dad, that seems a bit extreme, don't you think? They've already faced the consequences of their actions. Extreme? Maybe. But no one messes with my baby. They thought they could toy with you and make you suffer. They needed to learn a lesson, and I made sure they did. They won't forget this anytime soon. I appreciate your protectiveness, Dad, but I hope you didn't go too far. I don't want them to suffer endlessly. Don't worry, sweetheart. They'll get the message loud and clear. Sometimes people need a taste of their own medicine to understand the impact of their actions. Trust me, it's for the best. Well, I can't deny that it feels good to see them in such a predicament, but let's hope they learn from this and change their ways. I don't want this to define them forever. Let's hope they reflect on their behavior and make some positive changes. In the meantime, enjoy your well-deserved peace and solitude. Thanks, Dad. You're the best. Always, my love. Remember, you're strong, resilient, and deserving of happiness. Don't let anyone bring you down. As fate would have it, Jenny, Victor, and Asher found themselves back at the same dingy motel they had originally booked for me. Can you imagine the irony? All their scheming, and they ended up experiencing firsthand the discomfort they had intended for me. It must have been a bitter pill for them to swallow, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. I was alone in that big hotel suite that we were supposed to share. It was kind of weird, to be honest. On one hand, I felt this incredible sense of freedom, like I could do whatever I wanted. But on the other hand, it was also a bit lonely. Sitting there in this fancy room, I couldn't help but think about how everything had unfolded and how I ended up here all by myself. As the days passed in that fancy hotel suite, I couldn't help but still feel a bit lonely. But you know what? It was way better to be lonely than to be surrounded by fake people and their toxic energy. I had this moment of clarity where I realized that I deserved better. So a few days later, I mustered up the courage and emailed Victor the divorce papers. And guess what? He tried to reconcile, begged for another chance and all that, but I wasn't falling for it anymore. I knew I deserved more than his empty promises and lies. I was determined to enjoy my time in Morocco without him. When I finally returned home after spending my hard-earned money in Morocco, I got rid of all Victor's stuff. I didn't care if he and his family decided to run back home from the mess they created. You know why? Because I realized there's so much more to life than seeking validation from people who don't even deserve a place in my world. I embraced my freedom and chose to focus on building a life that's authentic to myself. I surrounded myself with positive influences and pursued my passions. I learned to let go of toxic relationships and value myself. Each day, I felt stronger and more empowered. The scars from the past started to heal, and I discovered a newfound love for myself. I learned that true happiness comes from within, not from seeking validation from others. Morocco taught me valuable lessons, and I held onto them as I moved forward in life. With determination and a smile on my face, I took the next steps towards my happiness. I left behind the toxicity and embraced a future filled with self-love